Marky Mark's Woodshop 101.
So, for our current project, I probably spent a few hours trimming this stuff up. I had to, most of it was 4/4. I had a few pieces that was 5/4, so I had to plane those down. And then I ran everything through the drum sander a couple of times to fine-tune the width. These are all going to get glued up, and I need them as close to the same thickness as possible. Otherwise all the seams are going to be a problem, and they need to be undetectable, as it'll be a high gloss painted surface when we get done with this. So there's a pile of lumber done. That's about half of the lumber for the project. And if anybody can guess what this project is, leave a comment and let us know. Your only clue so far is all these are going to get glued up into two big, very big boards. So these are the first two panels I glued up not that long ago, and I'm just going down the seam to try and make it invisible, at least not invisible to the eye, but invisible to the touch. And I'm using a scraper. Poplar will give a much better surface to paint on, or stain if you wish, with a scraper as opposed to sanding. Sanding, you get little balls and it just doesn't come out as smooth as some other woods. The scraper is actually the best choice for this. I probably won't be scraping the whole thing, but it's easier to deal with the seams. Eventually I'll run this through the drum sander with a fine grit, which for the drum sander is going to be about 220, and we'll see how it comes out. I may or may not have to give a final surfacing with a scraper. We'll see when we get to that point. So, has anybody guessed what the project is yet? See the greens start to come out?
Yep.
Hugely. If I scraped the Purple Heart, that would have worked better than sanding.
Well, that's something to learn in the next project.
Yep. So here I am scraping with a scraper. This is how they smooth furniture out before the invention of sandpaper. And a scraper is nothing more than a hardened piece of metal, as you can see. But it has a prepared edge on it, and that prepared edge is easy to do. Just hold your scraper in a vise, file over it so it's flat, and then what you want to do is, it needs a little burr on it, about 5 degrees, so with another hardened piece of metal that's flat, the edge of this file doesn't have any cuts in it for filing, so I use this, and I hold it at about 5 degrees, press down and run it over. And that'll put a little burr on it that you can barely feel, which acts as a little cutter that produces your shavings. And it provides a very, very smooth edge doing it this way. Of course, it's not fast, but I'm retired. So, it's a simple process and a simple tool, but it works wonderfully, especially on poplar. I don't use it that much because it is time consuming, but for this particular task, there's nothing better to do. Nothing better to use, rather. At least in this shop.
Perhaps they have ideas themselves.
They might. If you've got a better idea, please let me know. Of course, this is a small shop. It's not like I've got industrial equipment here. I do have some commercial equipment, but wrestling big boards around also is not fun or easy. As you can see, the material that's being removed is very, very fine. Just like a high grit sandpaper. A smoothing plane would probably do the job also, but I don't have that. That's a whole nother area. I've only got a couple little bitty planes. And planes can get so expensive, and then you need a million of them. I just have never got caught in that trap yet. Oh, one thing that makes it a little easier on your hands is a scraper holder. This one's from Veritas. They make such unique tools and high quality also. But you can make one with a wood block. It's a little bit easier on your hands instead of having that metal continually biting into you as you work. I think these go for 40-some bucks today, which for little metal holders seems to me like it's kind of expensive, but like I say, it's a pretty high, they make high quality stuff. And of course this has a knob where you can adjust it. If you, sometimes you'll experience something called chatter, which you can get with a plane as well, where it's caused by the edges. It'll kind of go like that over the board, and if you bend it slightly, that'll eliminate that. On a plane, it's usually due to misadjustment or a dull blade.
What about the angle of holding the scraper?
The angle I'm holding at about,
the scraper.
I'm holding the scraper at about 5 to 10 degrees toward me. Just slightly off center. Taking advantage of that burr we put on it.
Perhaps some hints for this mystery project.
Some hints? I gave them hints. We're gluing up that big pile of boards into 2 huge pieces of lumber. As the project progresses, they'll just have to watch the videos and kind of see who can figure it out first.
Like, subscribe, and feel free to share. Leave a comment with what your guess might be.
Watch, somebody will guess the first time. I've got some glue peeking out up here. don't know if I'll still be in the video. Actually, that one's meeting perfectly. Go figure. So all these boards are going to get glued up, and I'm using a biscuit joiner to do that with. If you've never seen one of these are the next best thing to sliced bread. What it does, it cuts a little semicircular hole in the boards, each edge, and you wind up putting these in there. These are the biscuits. These were invented by a company called Lamello. These are actually Lamello biscuits, which I fell into a bunch of them cheap. I got a lifetime supply. But anyway, the biscuits suck up the glue and swell, and it's like a miniature spine joint, if you will. And I place these normally about every foot or so. I wanted to get 2 rows on this particular joint, but the boards aren't quite thick enough, so I spaced them a little bit closer, about every 8 inches. And that they provide a very superior joint. I've used these many, many times, and they do not come apart easily. So that's about all the rest I have to say about the glue up at this point in time. So remember to leave your comment on what your best guess of the mystery project is. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you can see the rest of the good stuff that me and my beloved are putting out there for your entertainment and pleasure. Marky Mark extraordinaire.